Hi, my name is Dwayne Bailey, and today I want to show you a little card trick. It's not really a card trick, it's almost a computation, and that's why I'm bringing it to your attention. So I think this is an interesting manipulation of a deck of just 4 cards. Now, if you're doing this at home, you can do this along with the audience members. So you could take a deck of cards and hand out 4 cards each to every audience member, and they can follow your directions. And if they follow your directions, first of all, it will look as though they have some sort of free will during the experiment, that they will have an opportunity to do something different than everybody else. But in the end, they will always force the card that we first identify as a card that sits by itself inside the deck, and it will be exposed. And this will happen for everyone in the audience at the same time, provided they follow the directions. So this trick makes use of a manipulation of the deck, which is due to David Hummer. And so because this is a new manipulation, or was at the time a new manipulation, it was named after David Hummer, so it's called the Hummer. So we're going to actually do some basic manipulations, but I'll explain to you along the way what we're doing, and then we'll do the card trick a couple of times. So here we go. I have 4 cards here, and in my case I have 4 aces. And it doesn't really matter what the cards are. So your audience members will obviously have different cards than you have, but you can do this along with them in parallel. So I have 4 aces. So the card that I'm just going to put these 4 cards oriented the same way into a small deck, and the card that's at the bottom that is exposed when I turn the deck over is the Ace of Hearts. And so I'm going to remember that. So I'm going to say the Ace of Hearts. So the goal of this trick is to have the Ace of Hearts appear by itself at the end of this manipulation. And it will look like we'll have some choices to make along the way, but and so the result is, even though we look like we have some free will in the manipulations, the result will be kind of surprising. Okay, so the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top card here. So everyone's going to take their deck. They notice and they remember what that bottom card is. So for everybody, it's going to be different. And we're going to just manipulate the cards so nobody in deck, so that nobody else can see what the cards are. You're going to take the top card and you're going to move it to the bottom. I'm going to call that burying the card. So we're going to bury the top card. And then the next step, so when we do this, everybody does exactly the same thing. Everybody buries the top card. So you take the top card, you put it underneath, keeping the orientation the same. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to flip over the top card. Okay? So nothing special about this card. It just happens to be the Ace of clubs here. But we're going to flip the card over. Now at this point, we get to make a decision which is different, possibly for different people who are manipulating the trick at the same time. We're going to cut this deck. By cutting the deck, I mean you decide how many cards from the bottom you want to bring up and put on top of the top. So in this case, I've taken 2 cards from the bottom and I'm putting them on top. You could, if you wanted to, take 1 card from the bottom, or you could take 3 cards for the bottom, or you could take no cards. So we could take no cards from the bottom and put them on top. So I'm going to take 2 cards from the bottom. I'm going to put them on the top. We can all agree to disagree on how many cards we're going to move to the top in this deck cutting process. But that decision is completely your own. And so at this point, everybody is a little bit different in the orientation of their cards. In particular, that 1 card that's exposed will be at a different depth for everybody who is manipulating this. And now we're going to perform this move called a Hummer. So I'm going to take the top 2 cards, and as a group, I'm going to flip them over. So it's like flipping a card, except we flip 2 cards at the same time, and they get flipped over as a single unit. So the 2 cards are now face up for me. For other people, you may have different orientations. So I'm going to repeat that process again. So I'm going to cut this deck. This time maybe I'm going to take one card, and I'm going to move it to the top, and then I'm going to perform a Hummer. So that Hummer move is the one that David Hummer came up with. You take the top 2 cards, and you're going to flip them over. You might think about what this is actually doing to the deck of cards when you perform that move. And then I'm going to perform that cutting and Hummer combination one last time. So in this case, I'm going to take 3 cards from the bottom. I'm going to move them to the top, not changing the orientation, and then I'm going to perform a Hummer. So I'm going to perform a Hummer like that, okay? And we're almost done. So we have made 3 decisions that are just our own decisions. We get to make those decisions based on, what we want to do that particular moment. But you're going to do that 3 times. Cut and Hummer 3 times. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over the top card. And I'm going to take that top card and I'm going to bury it. Okay? So I flipped over the top card, I'm going to bury it. Some people may flip it over and it'll be face up and they bury it. Some people may flip it over, it'll be face down, they bury it. In any case, you flip the top card over and you bury it. And then you're going to bury one more card. And then you're going to flip the top card. And now the trick is done. And when we look, the Ace of Hearts is the only one face up. And that's the card that we were looking for. For some of you, there may be 3 cards that are face up, in which case when you turn it over, you'll find out that the card you were looking for is face up. So I'm going to perform this trick one more time. I'm going to do it a little bit faster. I'm not going to really do much commentary. I'm just going to describe the operations that I perform each time. This time, let's look for the Ace of Clubs. Okay? So the Ace of Clubs is what we're looking for. I'm going to bury the top card. I'm going to flip the top card. I'm going to cut the deck in some way. And then I'm going to flip over the top 2 cards in a Hummer. I'm now going to cut the deck again. Flip over the top 2 cards in a Hummer. And now I'm going to cut the deck again. In this case, I am not going to actually cut the cards at all. I'm going to cut 0 cards. And then I'm going to perform a Hummer. Okay? So we're done with all the cutting and Hummers. And now we're going to flip the top card. And we're going to bury it. And then we're going to bury another card. And we're going to flip the top card. And that is the Ace of Clubs. It's the only card face up. Again, you may find that there are 3 cards face up, in which case the card you're looking for is on the reverse side. And that's a little card trick. So you can perform this anywhere. It's easy to explain to other people. You can take a full deck and entertain 12 other people. And it never ceases to be amazing. Have a good day.